Hello mamas and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Jennifer. I film videos on fitness, nutrition, lifestyle, and motherhood. And in today's video, we'll be talking about everything that I could think of for breastfeeding. I'm trying to keep it to a short minimum because there's just so many things when it comes to breastfeeding. That's why I have this whole entire series, because I could literally go on and on and on about breastfeeding. I'm so passionate about breastfeeding. Like, I knew ever since I wanted to become a mom, I knew that I wanted to breastfeed. I knew I wanted to exclusively breastfeed. I actually even became a lactation educator, and I was also going to become a lactation consultant, and I'm praying that one day that is still going to happen. But for now, I am here educating you guys. You might be a first-time mom, or you're needing some tips and tricks. You're on your breastfeeding journey currently. I am here to help you. So if you ever have any questions as well, just be sure to drop them down below and I will answer them for you. So this is actually part 2 to my breastfeeding series. So if you missed the first video, I'm going to go ahead and link it up here. It is my breastfeeding must-have, so be sure to go ahead and check out that video. I literally talk about all the things that you absolutely must have to be successful on your breastfeeding journey. And just a little bit of a disclaimer before we do hop into today's video, I just want to say that it does not matter which way you choose to feed your baby, whether that be exclusively breastfeeding, exclusively pumping, supplementing, formula feeding, whichever method that you choose, mama, just know that you are doing a great job. Be sure to give yourself grace and just know that fed is best. So let's go ahead and go back to the beginning. Let's start at the very beginning. Baby is just born. They place that baby onto your chest. You're doing skin to skin with your baby. You're having that golden hour time with your baby. So if you don't know what the golden hour is, it's just when they let you and baby just hang out for that first hour. They're literally doing all their vitals and everything on you. They don't weigh baby or do any of that in that first hour. It's just you bonding with baby, trying to get baby to also latch onto breast. So this is your perfect opportunity right here to get that milk supply going, setting yourself up for a successful breastfeeding journey. So definitely try to get baby to breast as soon as you can. And if you can't get baby onto breast within that first hour, do not think that you're doing anything wrong. Don't think that, you're failing or anything like that. It is okay. Literally baby went from being all nice and warm and cozy inside of you into this brand new world that they know nothing about. It's bright, they're cold, all these different factors. So it is okay. And just know that babies also will only feed about 4 to 5 times in that first 24 hours. So it is okay if they do not feed in that first hour. But definitely try to get them to latch in that first hour. You want to get that oxytocin going, all of that, which is going to help with having you have that great milk supply. So also, babies are born with a high need to suck. They're born with this sucking reflux, so they already know how to do it, mamas. You just got to help them out. And just know that you're learning and they're learning too, so if you don't get it right away, it is okay. Also, you can always reach out to a lactation consultant. They have them there at the hospital and they can help you out as well. But definitely try to get baby to breast as soon as you can. Even if that's just having, your nipple in baby's mouth. As soon as baby can feel that nipple in their mouth, touch the roof of their mouth, they will begin to suck. So definitely try to get that nipple in there, start trying to get some oxytocin flowing and get that milk supply rolling. All right, so a question that I get a lot of is, does breastfeeding hurt? And the answer to that is yes and no. So ultimately, it should not hurt. But in the beginning, it does hurt, and that is because you are still trying to toughen up your nipples. So your nipples are raw. They've never been sucked on like this. They've never been pulled and tugged on in this manner. So just know that you have to toughen up your nipples, and just know that if you have a good latch, it may hurt for a little bit in the beginning, but it should not hurt for the whole time that you're nursing baby. So you should feel some discomfort in the beginning, and then as your nursing session goes on, the pain should go away. Another thing that I do want to note too is for my first time moms, if you've never breastfed before, there will be those postpartum contractions. So when you are nursing baby, you may feel those labor contractions again, and that is just because baby is helping to shrink your uterus back down. So that is the pain that you're feeling, and that does go away. Just give it a couple, a day or two, and that should completely go away. So yes, if you have a good latch, then it should not hurt at all. So some ways to know that you have a good latch is baby is emptying your breast. So at the start of a feed, your boobs are going to feel super full, they're going to feel heavy, and as your nursing session goes on, your boobs should start to deflate, and they should go down, and they should be nice and soft. So that's one way to know that you have a good latch. Another indicator of a good latch is baby is peeing and pooping pooping, they're having the correct number of diapers and all of that. That is a good indicator of having a good latch, and we'll go over how many wet diapers and how many poopy diapers they should have. We're going to talk about that as well later on in this video, but let's go ahead and jump into a bad latch. All right, some ways to tell that you have a bad latch is you have sore nipples, you have discomfort throughout the whole entire nursing feeding. So this is an indicator that you have a bad latch. So you may have like sore, dry, cracked, bleeding nipples. And if you do have that, some ways to help with that discomfort is to actually express a little bit of breast milk and put it onto your nipple and then let your nipples air dry. Another thing that you can do is put some nipple butter, some nipple balm on there, and that can help with healing your dry, cracked, bleeding nipples. And if you do have dry, cracked, bleeding nipples, it is still okay to nurse your baby. So keep nursing your baby, keep toughening up those nipples, and keep working on getting that good latch. So some reasons why you may have dry, cracked, bleeding nipples is because baby is only getting the nipple in your mouth. So breastfeeding is not nipple feeding, it's literally breastfeeding. So you want to make sure you have the nipple and the areola all the way in baby's mouth. So your nipple and then like the darker part of your breast, that should be fully in baby's mouth. Also, baby should have nice like flanged lips. So their lips should kind of be like, so you want to make sure like that bottom lip isn't tucked under. You want to make sure it's all the way nice and under your breast. I'm also going to put a picture up here so you can see a good idea of what it should look like on what baby's lips should look like around your breast. But you just want to make sure they have like those like fish lips or like duck lips, they say. You just want to make sure they have nice flanged lips, make sure they have that whole nipple, that most of the areola in baby's mouth. So to get these nice flanged lips around your nipple, you want to make sure that baby has a nice wide open mouth. So some ways to do that is you can take your nipple and run it from like the top of your nose all the way down across their mouth. And then as soon as you see that nice wide open mouth, that's your opportunity to shove that boob into baby's mouth. And you want to make sure that you're bringing baby to your breast and not breast to baby. So make sure you're always taking that boob, pushing it into baby, bringing them into you with that nice open wide mouth. And if they don't get a good suction on there, a good wide open mouth on there, you can take your finger, hook it inside their mouth like a fish hook, and then you can get them to lose that suction and unlatch and then try again. So you just definitely make sure you look for those flanged lips. If you're not seeing that, if you don't see that bottom lip poked out from, under your nipple, unlatch them. Look for that nice wide open mouth, take that opportunity, bring baby to breast, and then you should be good to go. So I had to bring my camera down because I don't know if you guys saw right now how I was showing you how when baby has a nice open wide mouth, and I grabbed onto my boob here and brought baby in. So this is called the C hold. So this is another way to help baby get a good latch. So if you're holding baby, you got your hand over your breast, you're bringing baby in, that's going to help compress your boob to make sure that you can get most of your nipple and your areola into their mouth. So that is a good way. You can take your hand, put it on baby's head, and you have your baby cradled. We're going to go over feeding positions here in a little bit, but you would just compress that boob and get it into baby's mouth. So you want to think of like the C hold as like, say like you have a hamburger. Let's use a hamburger analogy. Say you have a really big juicy hamburger and it's so thick and you're trying to get your whole mouth around it, but you take it and you kind of like squeeze it down so you can get all of that burger in your mouth. That's the same thing that you're doing with your boob. So you're taking that boob, you're doing that C hold, and you're trying to compress your boob down so you can get as much of your breast into baby's mouth and not just the nipple. You can also do like a V hold. So that's where you would go under this way, and then you would do that same technique of bringing baby into breast. So those are some other ways that can help you to get a good latch. All right, another way to know that baby has a bad latch is if you hear any clicking on the breast. So if you hear clicking on the breast, that means baby is losing suction. That means that they do not have a good latch. So if you hear like constant losing of the suction, just go ahead and unsuction them from your breast. Make sure they have that nice open wide mouth. Get as much as that nipple and that areola into baby's mouth, and make sure you don't hear that clicking sound. I do want to say though that some babies do click at the breast. I had that problem with Janae this time around, my latest addition. She was actually clicking at the breast, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? Like, why is she clicking? And I kept unlatching her, relatching her, and I just even reached out to one of my friends that's a lactation consultant. I'm like, I don't know what this girl's doing. She's just clicking at the breast. Like, what's going on? And she was like, some babies just click at the breast, and it just eventually it just went away. She doesn't click at the breast anymore. But as long as you have most of that nipple in their mouth, most of the areola in your mouth, and you hear them clicking, then I want to say that it is okay. But that is not a normal thing for them to be clicking at the breast. So if you're newly breastfeeding and you have those like sore, cracked, dry bleeding nipples and you keep hearing that clicking at the breast, then you probably do not have a good latch. But if you have a good latch and you're not experiencing any of those problems and baby's clicking on the breast, then you're probably okay. But you can always just reach out to a lactation consultant, let them know what you are experiencing, and then they can tell you if you have a good or a bad latch. Another indicator of a bad latch is a lipstick nipple. So if your nipple looks like a new lipstick, it has that like slant on it, then that means baby does not have a good latch. Your nipple should look the same at the start of the feeding as it does at the end of the feeding. So if you see that lipstick shaped nipple, then just know that you have a bad latch as well. All right, another indicator that you could possibly have a bad latch is baby is super fussy at the end of your nursing session. So if they're super fussy and they're cranky and they don't seem satisfied, maybe because your latch isn't good, which means they are not emptying your breast, so they are not full. Okay, so if you have flat or inverted nipples, you too can have a successful breastfeeding journey. So some things that you can try out is you can use a breast pump. So try to pump your boob a little bit just to make sure your nipple is really pulled out and exposed. That's one way to do it. You can also use a breast shield. You can also manually express and really just pull the skin back from the nipple and get that nipple out as much as you can. You can also try that V hold or that C hold that I was showing earlier in the video. Those are all different techniques that you can use to help you have a successful breastfeeding journey. And then if none of that works and you're still not having a good latch, you're still not having a good experience, definitely reach out to a lactation consultant. All right, next up, let's go over feeding positions. So I have one of Belle's little dolls here. This is what I'm gonna use to show you guys a couple different feeding positions. So the first one I want to talk about is the cradle position. So this is actually the position that I use all the time. One of my favorite positions is the cradle position. So you just want to make sure that you have that baby tucked into your arm. The rest of your hand is just coming down on the front of their body, and you can just do whatever you want with your other hand. You can rub baby's head, whatever it is. You also want to make sure that baby is tummy to tummy with you with like all of these positions. Make sure that baby is tummy to tummy with you. Their nose should be like at your breast. You want to make sure that everything is nice and in line. So like their ear, their shoulder, like their legs, everything is nice and aligned as well. You can also use like some pillows as well to help you. So if you have some like nursing pillows, or you can even just use like regular pillows, make sure you have a nice position. Make sure you're nice and comfortable. Make sure you're nice and straight up. You don't want to be like slouched over or anything like that. And remember, like I said, you always want to make sure that you're bringing that baby into you. So you don't want to be coming over here. Make sure baby is pulled into you. So yeah, this is the cradle position. And then the next one is the cross cradle position. So that's where you're going to have baby here. Instead of this arm coming in and holding baby, you're going to be this way. And then that also is going to free up this hand. So if you need to do like that C hold or that V hold, that is going to be good here. You're just keeping that baby nice and pulled in here. And if you have those pillows under you, that's going to help with baby as well. Next position I want to talk about is the football hold. So the football hold, this is also good for my C-section mamas. So you're going to put baby this way under you. You're going to have that hand underneath their head. Make sure that they're nice and supported, and you would feed them this way. So also bringing that baby to breast, not coming over this way. You want to make sure you have nice soft shoulders, nice good posture when you are feeding baby. And then another position that I do a lot is the lying down position. So especially like at night, those nighttime feedings, I even do this like during the day. I like this position, but you basically just lay down onto ground, making sure that baby still is tummy to tummy with you. You would be all the way down here, but I'm trying to make sure I stay in the frame here. But you would be lying down, make sure that tummy to tummy and baby is pulled in here. All right. And then another position that I like to, and that I have to do oftentimes, especially in those beginning months, because I am an oversupplier. So when I say that I'm an oversupplier, I produce lots and lots and lots of milk. So this is, yes, a good thing, but it's also a bad thing. So I have like a very strong letdown. So when my milk first comes out and baby first latches on, it's like a lot. They can start choking on my milk and all of that. So what I do is like the laid back position. That's one way that you can do it. So you would basically just be laid back. You would have baby here and be in that like laid back position as you are nursing, opposed to being upright. Because if you're laid back, then it's going to take more, for the milk to actually get into baby's mouth, because it has more work to do, rather when you're upright and that milk can just go spilling into baby's mouth. So that is another thing. Also for my oversuppliers, if you find out that you have an oversupply, another thing that you can do is pump first, let that let down come out, and then you can put baby to breast and you can just store that milk that you pumped out. That is another way to help if you have an oversupply. So those are some of my favorite feeding positions. There's so many more. You just find whichever one that works best for you, whichever one that you are comfortable with, that baby's comfortable with, whichever one that's going to give you that good latch, that is going to be the position for you. So definitely try out some different ones, find out what works for you, and then roll with that position. All right, let's move on to how to know when it is time to feed your baby. So you should definitely be feeding baby every 2 to 3 hours. That's when you should be feeding them, but you can also feed them on demand as well. So just make sure that you're looking for those feeding cues. So if you see baby moving their head around, or they're like bobbing their head, or if they have tight clenched fists, or they have their mouth open and they're searching for a nipple, those are all indicators that baby is wanting to nurse. So just pop that baby on, nurse baby. Even if it hasn't been 2 to 3 hours, you can still nurse baby. Sometimes babies are cluster feeding. We're going to talk more about that later too. Also, many moms think that crying is a sign that baby is hungry. So if your baby is crying, they're actually in distress. You do not want to get them to that point, because if they start crying, then you got to calm them down so then that you can be able to get baby onto your breast and make sure that they have a good latch. So definitely look for those feeding cues. Do not wait until they start screaming their head off. Make sure that you look for those cues and get baby to breast before they can get into distress like that. Also, newborns, they sleep a lot, so they may not show you any hunger cues, so make sure that you are waking them up every 2 to 3 hours to nurse. All right, so Janae woke up from her nap, so she's probably going to be making some appearances here in the video, so if you hear her, she is here. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the rest of this video. All right, let's talk about some ways to know that baby is done, they are full, they no longer need to nurse. So some signs that they will show you is they will just automatically just come off the boob. Some babies will just turn their head away from your nipple. Some other indicators are baby just relaxes their bodies and they just like release their fists, and that can be another indicator showing that they are full. So some other ways to know that they are full too, say they come off of that first side that you're nursing on, you go ahead, you burp them, you wait a little bit, and then you try to offer the other breast. If they take it, then they are probably still full. If they do not take the other boob, that is okay too. Another thing is you do not have to feed on both breasts. So let's say baby just nurses on one side, and then just make sure that on your next nursing feeding, be sure to feed on the other side. Another thing you can do too is pump the other side as well, especially if you need to get like your milk supply up. We're going to talk more about that later too, but you can also pump that other side as well. So you do have some other options on, you know, just making sure that you are emptying both breasts. You do want to make sure you are emptying both breasts, just because, like I said, breastfeeding is all supply and demand. So the more that you demand, the more you will supply. So let's talk about the different types of milks. So there are 3 different types of milk. So the very first milk that you have is called colostrum. So it's very thick. It's like yellowish, goldeny in color. It's very like creamy. So colostrum is high in protein. It has fat soluble vitamins in it. It has minerals in it, and it also has antibodies in it as well. So the antibodies that are in colostrum are passed down from mama to baby through your milk, and those antibodies are actually going to help protect your baby from viral and bacterial infections. So even if your baby just gets that one feeding, that first drop of liquid gold, you're literally just setting them up for success already just from that one feeding. The next milk that you have is your transitional milk. So this milk comes in 2 to 4 days after delivery. So when your milk comes in, you're definitely going to know it. You're going to feel it. They may feel full. They may feel heavy. You may feel that like tingly sensation. I feel like you can just feel like your boobs are filling up. Some moms experience that feeling. Some other mamas don't, so if you don't feel it, it is okay. But a lot of times the indicator knowing that you have this transitional milk is your boobs are super heavy and they're super full. Transitional milk is high in fat. It has water-soluble vitamins, and it also has lactose in it, and it's very high in fat as well. And this milk only lasts about like 2 to 4 weeks before your mature milk comes in. So your mature milk is your final stage of your milk, and mature milk is actually broken up into 2 sections. So you have your fore milk and your hind milk. So your fore milk is like more of that like watery part of the feeding, and then your hind milk, that's towards the end of your feeding, and that's actually going to have more fat to it. It's going to be a lot thicker. That's what's going to help keep baby full. So your baby will get a mix of fore and hind milk. So if baby only feeds for a little bit, it's okay. They may have only gotten like fore milk, but they will, you know, get that hind milk as well. Just make sure you keep bringing baby to breast, feeding every 2 to 3 hours, and they will get all the milk that they will need. Cluster feeding and low milk supply next. So if your baby is cluster feeding, just know that that is not an indicator that you have a low milk supply. Babies cluster feed for a number of reasons. So they may just be doing it for comfort. They may be going through a growth spurt. They may be sick. Like this little one, this little baby is sick right now. So I feel like she's been like cluster feeding, especially at night. But some ways to know that they are cluster feeding versus like low milk supply. So like with cluster feeding, I have my notes here. Baby has like certain periods when they want to feed frequently. Baby has at least like 6 to 8 wet, dirty diapers in a 24-hour period. Baby is fussy at certain times of the day consistently. Baby is consistently gaining weight. Baby may be fussy at the breast at a certain time of the day. Those are some indicators that they are cluster feeding. So some ways to know that you have a low milk supply is baby wants to nurse frequently throughout the day. Baby has less than 68 wet diapers a day in a 24-hour period. Baby is fussy most of the day, and baby is not gaining weight, or baby is losing weight. Baby nurses for an hour or more, and then they are still not satisfied after they're feeding. And then lastly, baby is either awake all the time or very sleepy all the time. So those are some indicators that you have a low milk supply. So I know you guys are going to probably want to know some ways to boost your milk supply. So some ways to boost your milk supply is making sure that you are feeding every 2 to 3 hours. Also, you want to make sure that baby is fully emptying the breast. Some other ways that you can help boost your milk supply is making sure that your diet is on track. So don't be in a rush to get like that snap back, to get that postpartum body back. If you're breastfeeding, your number one thing and focus should be on feeding your baby, and so you're gonna have to eat. So you want to make sure you're getting at least like 18 to like 2200 calories a day. Make sure you are staying hydrated. Those are all going to be ways to boost your milk supply. You can also do some power pumping sessions in between feedings. That's all going to help boost your milk supply. You can also supplement. So there's many different types of supplements out there that you can take to also help boost your milk supply as well. So there's different ways that you can do it. Thank you. Oh, hi. So some other ways to know that baby is also getting enough milk is just by counting their diapers. So on day 1, you want to make sure baby is having like 1 wet diaper. By day 2, so they should have 2. By day 3, 3. By day 4, 4. By day 5, they should have 5 wet diapers. They should have some poops in there. I'm going to put a little chart up here as well. And then also after that, they should be having at least like 6 to 8 diapers a day. So if they're not having that, then you probably have low milk supply, or your baby just has a bad latch. So that's when you want to reach out to that lactation consultant. All right, let's talk about mastitis and clogged ducts next. You do not want to experience a clogged duct or a mastitis at all. Let me get this girl on. All right, some symptoms to look out for when you have clogged milk ducts are your boobs may be engorged, they may be red, they may be swollen, they might be tender. You may also see like a decrease in your milk supply. Those are all symptoms of clogged ducts. Also, some ways that you can like relieve all of this pain is you can do like warm and cold compress. You can massage your boobs. You can take like an Epsom salt bath. You can do 4,800 milligrams of sunflower lecithin. You can also pump. You can also nurse frequently. That's all going to help with unclogging that milk duct. So some symptoms for mastitis are going to be kind of similar to the same thing as clogged milk ducts, but you may have like a hard lump, may have like localized engorgement, may have breast pain, swelling of the breast, warm spot on the breast, fever, chills. Those are all indicators of mastitis. So you basically still want to do the same thing that you just did for that clogged milk duct. You want to do like warm and cold compress, massage your boobs. You actually want to take like a vibration, anything that like vibrates, and put it on the area where you're feeling pain, and just helps to vibrate, then massage all of the milk out. You can do hand-on pumping. You can manually express, pump, still keep feeding baby. Try the sunflower lecithin. That's all going to help as well. So if you're experiencing mastitis, you may have to get an antibiotic from your doctor to help with clearing all the infection out of your boob. All right, so that is all I have for you today. Hopefully you guys learned some new tips and tricks, learn some new things about breastfeeding. If you're a first-time mom, hopefully you feel a little bit better now that you're a little bit more educated on what to look out for and how to know, when baby is full, how to know that they're getting enough, things to do if you have low milk supply, all of that. But if you do have any other questions, be sure to drop them down below. I'm probably going to do like a Q&A on here as well. So if you have any questions, I'm going to do like a separate Q&A video as well. So yeah, if you guys did enjoy this video, if you found it helpful, if you found it useful, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and make sure you are subscribed to my channel. And I will see you guys back here for another breastfeeding video. Bye, mamas.